This is the Capital Dispatch Podcast. Welcome to the show. This week we are talking about heating and energy assistance and why Republicans in Connecticut seem to have changed their tone, at least a bit. Kind of got to guess why I think they did, but why are we talking about this, right? We're talking about this because in between crashing the global economy and the stock market, Trump also had time to cut millions of dollars in funding for a bunch of really important social safety net programs. And one of those were LIHEAP. He laid off everybody that worked on the low income home energy assistance program staff. And again, that program also goes by the acronym LIHEAP. And the program was a federal program that distributed funding via block grants to states, and then those states would take that money and then run their own program to help people who were in need and obviously needed to heat their homes in the wintertime, and also some assistance in the summer as well. Now, Connecticut's program is run by the State Department of Social Services, goes by the acronym DSS. And the program that they run here is called the Connecticut Energy Assistance Program. One more acronym for you, CEAP, goes by CEAP. And this program did a lot for people in Connecticut. You know, in 2023, 2024, that winter, CEAP helped 99,000 households cover their home heating bills. It's a lot of people, right? And Connecticut State Senator Matt Lesser, a Democrat, says that's a good enough reason to not literally lay the entire staff that's running this program on a federal level off.
It is a vital lifeline to keep people with disabilities, to keep the elderly, to keep low-income families from freezing to death in the winter.
That soundbite came from a press conference that took place in Hartford this past week. Actually, I believe it was either the day or the day after the layoffs were announced and people found out about kind of sort of what was going on. And in a previous episode of this podcast on Medicaid, I laid out how the current presidential administration and congressional Republicans are basically just pillaging federal programs as they're looking for money so they can give the top 0.1% shiny new tax break, a tax break none of them need. So honestly, there haven't been many cuts or proposed cuts that shock me at this point. I mean, really, there hasn't been much coming from this current administration that's been shocking. You know, they campaigned on this stuff. Now, was it stupid? Yes. Shocking? Stupid? Yeah. You know, just like Social Security, right? That was dumb. And it's not just cruel and mean-spirited, but like even politically, it's pretty dumb because it's almost like they don't understand or know the demographics of their own base. Republicans need LIHEAP too. According to an article in the Connecticut Mirror, more than 6 million people across this country receive assistance from the LIHEAP program. Because again, it goes to all the states and they can figure out how to run it. And I'm gonna take a wild guess that out of that 6 million, they're not all soy milk drinking Bernie bros, right? I'm sure a lot of them have Trump flags on their house. And this administration loves to talk about efficiency, right? And they're cutting waste to make sure all these things run more efficiently. But one of the speakers at the press conference called BS on that claim.
This is not an effort at efficiency. Actually, one of my jobs prior to coming here to Connecticut and serving in this role was working on the U.S. House of Representatives Oversight and Government Reform Committee. So I can say firsthand that this is not an effort to support efficiency. It is a direct attack on our most vulnerable.
And as far as efficiency, it's kind of hard to efficiently run a nationwide program that has no staff. So, right, although there's been, to this point, as of me taping this, there's been no official word on what's exactly gonna happen to the LIHEAP program, what we do know at this point is that there's no one there. There's not even anyone to answer an email at this point.
Right now, we don't know who to call. We didn't actually receive any message from our federal partners. We have received no formal notice that this has actually happened. Emails bounce back from people that we have worked with for many years who are deeply knowledgeable of the program. So it is really a frustrating, uncertain time.
One last note on efficiency, right? You know what's efficient, at least to me, is paying people what you owe them, right? Giving people their money back. And according to USA Today, the remaining 10%, or about $378 million, used by states to pay for summer cooling, and also that money goes to emergency funding for households that may need some additional assistance. And on top of that, it goes to weatherization. That money cannot be released until HHS determines the state-by-state allocation. And there's no one there to do it. So at the press conference, I believe the state senator actually mentioned that they still owe the state of Connecticut $8 million. $8 million. And listen, I'm not saying what the pastor Marvin Sapp did was okay. It's never okay. Disclaimer, it's not okay. But if you happen to run into Robert Kennedy, and you're somewhere where there's a door, it's $8 million. I'm gonna just stop while I'm ahead. But again, the program is basically in shambles. They owe us $8 million bucks. Summer is on the way, and heat-related deaths have been going up. In 2023, a record number of people died from the record heat that year. And according to an Associated Press analysis from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, death certificates of more than 2,300 people who died in the United States in that summer of 2023 mentioned the effects of excessive heat. That was the highest number in 45 years of keeping these records. So we're crashing right into that, more than likely, not getting that $8 million. Because for some reason, I don't really trust Donald Trump with money. I know he's good at business. Well, at least Connecticut Republicans seem to care. Now listen, again, I feel like I mentioned this before. I don't actually know the reach of this podcast. We're just trying something out, seeing if it'll stick. But I hope if you have been listening, at this point, you know I'm extremely sarcastic. So Republicans probably don't care that much. They did put out a statement in response to these cuts. And according to CT News Junkie, this is how it goes. So here's what they had to say. By fixating on President Trump, they hope to distract from state budget failures unrelated to him. The two Republicans continue. If Democrats and the state's Consumer Council truly cared about seniors freezing in winter or suffering heat stroke in the summer, get this, they would work with federal officials and support President Trump's plan to expand natural gas. Lowering the sky-high electric rates, they have repeatedly failed to control. I'm starting to feel like Republicans are strategically positioning Trump to be their get out of jail free card. Stay with me, right? So Trump is unlike any president ever because he's pretty much doing whatever he wants, and he's doing it without official congressional approval. They may go along with it, they may say that they're fine with it, but he's not getting their approval. So he bears an unusual amount of responsibility whenever anything happens, whether it's a good thing or it's a bad thing, because he's doing a lot of this stuff on his own. And because, he's a moron, a lot of what he's been doing has been bad. It's been bad, it's been stupid, and it hasn't worked. So there's no way to really talk about things like cutting Medicaid or Social Security or closing the Department of Education without mentioning Donald Trump. Because even if anybody else is involved, he's the one that's leading the charge on these things. But to folks that are uninitiated and don't have the time to pay close attention to politics, which I completely understand, Republicans coming out every time something bad happens and basically saying, oh, Democrats are just mad at Republicans, and then just cutting out all the context and ignoring the real reason why and what their president has been doing is something that might work. So kudos to you guys. I mean, your constituents run the risk of freezing to death or having heat strokes or dealing with any other heat-related illnesses. But you know what's important? You won the game that matters. You won the gotcha game. The gotcha game. From the people who brought you fun games that you played at home with your family, like, what about Chicago? And we can never forget about, if they can say it, why can't I? But seriously, that response does nothing, right? For people who are actually affected and impacted by this. And that's what's disappointing, because a year ago, literally a year ago, LIHEAP was a bipartisan issue. I think the legislature agreed to put state funding towards it unanimously in both the House and in the Senate because they understand how important it is. And I don't know how we ended up here. I mean, I get it. It's Donald Trump. I know. But, is he even really that popular in Connecticut? You know what I mean? Here? More popular than people having heat in their house? Because, listen, I'll take heat over a lot of things. I love Barack Obama. I'll take heat over Obama. I'll take heat over Lyndon Baines Johnson, LeBron. Nah, I'm not taking that over LeBron. Either way, this is a developing story, and I'll keep you posted as we continue to attempt to put the pieces together to a puzzle that the tariff tyrant keeps on taking apart. This week at the Capitol, State Senator Sujata Gadkar-Wilcox led legislators and the legal community in an announcement of Donald Trump's presidency.
People are afraid.
They say the president has repeatedly violated the Constitution.
Our president cannot be a tyrannical king. Let us not repeat our own history.
Trump, who was convicted of 34 felony counts in a hush money trial prior to winning the 2024 election, has often made the news for defying the orders of multiple judges.
This burden is on all of us.
The president, legislating solely through executive orders, has attempted to cut entire departments, freeze federal funding from getting back to taxpayers, and illegally deported an American citizen that he is now refusing to bring back.
Independence is on the chopping block. Our Constitution is on the chopping block.
Democrats continue to call on Republicans to join them in what Democrats say is a fight to protect the Constitution.
So again, this is not a bipartisan issue, but it's a human issue.
For Capitol Dispatch News, I'm Henry Chisholm. Thanks for watching, if you watched, and listening, if you listened. For more information, head to CapitolDispatch.com.